one thing I'll tell you is do not be afraid. You're not West Azimo. I actually want to specify to Kenyans, to our listeners, to stop using that term. There's no crazy person. There's no Mwendazimo anywhere. They're just people who have mental health challenges, just like you have your kidney failures, your kidney dialysis, the same way with your mind. That's the way we are.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Magnetica podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Please let us know what you thought about our previous episode, and we hope that even after this one, you'll continue engaging with us. Today, we are talking about mental health. I know it sounds like a cliche topic, but it really isn't. It's something that is it's such a reality. I feel it's very misunderstood. And I will not be the one talking to you about mental health. We have a guest. His name is John, who has gone through it, who will tell us his experience, how it feels like to go through it. He will tell us everything. I don't want to preempt anything. I don't want to mention anything. I want John to be the one to tell us his story and how it just feels to be in that position. John and I were in the same campus. We're actually in the same class studying chemistry. We don't do chemistry anymore. That's how we met. That's how I know his story. That's how I know John. And I will not say anything further about him. John, please introduce yourself in your own words.
Hello, guys. I'm John. I live with bipolar disorder. I was diagnosed when I was 20. Yes, I've been walking the journey. I've had my series of ignorance, acting on ignorance, and suffering its consequences. And mental health is very real. I have bipolar type 1. And for us who have bipolar type 1 or bipolar disorder, it's a mood disorder. So we fluctuate between series of highs and series of lows. And because of that, we are always on meds. That's what keeps us going.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Besides having bipolar, before we even dive even deeper into that, what do you do for a living? Why don't you tell us?
An IT personnel working with a region group of companies. And for us, we involve ourselves with motor vehicle security as well as CCTV cameras.
Okay, awesome. So back to your bipolar journey, right? So you said you have bipolar type 1. So what other kinds of bipolars exist?
There are 3 types of bipolars. There's bipolar type 1, which is what I have. Then there's bipolar type 2, which includes low symptoms of mania, that is hypomania, as well as depression.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is cyclothymic, which involves cycling between hypomania and depression. Cyclothymic is not as high as bipolar 1 and bipolar 2.
Okay, interesting. How did this start? You said you were 20 years old. How did it start?
Yeah. Well, bipolar disorder, it began when I was in campus. For the long part of campus, I was dealing with depression, but no one actually mentioned it. It's later on that my colleagues who were in campus were like saying, "You've always been depressed." They were saying that to the doctor who is at the university, was saying, "You always appear depressed," but we never knew what the problem was. So it's until when I went into mania phase that somebody actually took the time and actually spoke out and said, "We have always noticed that John is depressed, but we have never told him out that." Because what happened in campus, I used to wear my earphones long period of time, and during that time you will find me even dancing crazily on the road. You will see me just doing normal campus stuff that people usually do. And during that time, no one knows it's a problem. It's okay, he's just enjoying campus life. He's just normal listening to music, because they're also hearing what you're listening to, and perhaps it's Chris Brown, perhaps it's Taylor Swift. You're listening to all these audiences of music, and you're like, he's just feeling good about it. But it was a cry for something else. It was an attention to be driven towards something. My mind was slowly going towards the mania phase, which happened in my 4th year. In our 4th year, me and Purity actually is when my mania phase actually revealed itself. It came as bad as that, such that I couldn't sleep for an entire week. I was lights on, just reading book continuously from morning till evening till the following day, not taking a pause. To make matters even more tough, just leaving the room altogether at night and walking around the campus when people are asleep. So that's the mania phase acting. And worst of all is we arranged for a trip to Mombasa, the 4th year trip to Mombasa. And that's when things broke out. That's when everything that we knew was stable about me went off the window.
Okay, that's interesting because I remember I witnessed part of it.
Yeah.
But I witnessed part of it. Before we move on to anything else, Could you paint a picture for me
Yeah.
of how it feels in those moments? So how did it feel when you were depressed? Did you know you were depressed? Did you know there was something different? And might you know what could have triggered the depression? And then what led to the progression? And how does it feel in that moment?
Well, I knew I was depressed when I couldn't wake up in the morning and do the normal thing. I just want to stay in bed the entire day. I don't want to come to class. I don't want to go to lectures. I don't want to meet anybody. I just want to be me alone. The other bit that's what they used, I was, what can I say? When it was in the earlier moments, it wasn't really me for figuring out things. It was my roommates were just telling me what was happening. And their feedback, one of them was, John, you didn't want to go to lectures. You didn't want to see people. You just want to stay in your room. You didn't want to watch movies. You didn't want to, basically, you didn't want, there's nothing that life gives you that you didn't refuse. You refuse everything. Sometimes you even deny yourself food. So when you ask my friends, that is Alex, I'll tell you, that is when we knew something was totally wrong. When you would refuse to watch movies, when you would go for lectures. And you remember I was the class prep.
Yes.
So I'm arranging a class that I'm not attending. And the excuse and most people will ask, used to appear in most lectures. Most people will not see you missing. But what happened is it took a lot of effort from my friends to convince me to go to a class because they'll get me in bed. They'll tell you, no, you have to go to class. And because of that constant push, I would say is the reason why I never got diagnosed early enough, because I always attended the classes because I believe my depression began when I was in my second year. That's when the depression really took me and no one noticed. Then the triggers that lead me towards mania. One is stress and the other one is emotional. When I'm in emotional turmoil, that is when you can be sure I will hit mania soon. But how do I feel during these times? One is that when I'm depressed, the world is all black. I don't want to go out. I don't want to see people. I don't want to eat. I just want to be left alone, wearing my earphones and listening to crazy music, listening to depressive music, like music that just take the life of, like rock, those kinds of things. Music that just doesn't make sense.
So John, it's interesting because again, we were in the same class. You were a class rep. In second year, you appeared fine, but clearly your friends were the ones who were holding it down the whole time. I mean, we had no idea. We only got to know that something was wrong when you had your episodes, right, towards the end. So now let me ask
towards
you.
The end.
Yes. So let me ask you, because there's a time I went through a mild depression. Not mild because it was easy. It was short. It was for a short period of time. And I remember telling someone and they laughed and they said, "Oh my God, you're 20 years old. What are you depressed about?" So I wanted to ask you, having gone through this experience, what do you think might have led you to that point in second year? Would you know? Was it a loss? What was it? And what would you say to someone who's thinking, come on, you're a 20-year-old. Why are you getting depressed? I mean, are you okay? What would you tell that person?
Well, for 20-year-old, being in depression sometimes will not make sense to others. But because these are struggles that you're having from within you. These are things that as a person you're finding hard to address or finding somebody to help you walk through them. They're just things you don't want to express. And because the biggest part of mental illness is failure to express ourselves. That's why we go through the turmoil. Is it childish issues, things in your childhood? Could it be a pain that you have suppressed for a while? Now it has emerged again. Could it be family things that have happened within your family that are causing you all these things? Because what happens is, especially if you're firstborn, secondborn, or lastborn, there are things that people often say about every cluster of person. Whether you are a firstborn, these are the expectations. And let's say you're not meeting them. These are the lastborn. This is how your life should be. Your life should be smooth. Your life should be easy. That's the thinking that culture has. But if that doesn't happen, it affects a lot about the psyche of a person, because they expect a firstborn to have figured out life, what he or she wants, or how he or she should conduct life. So you find that if they get to campus and they meet a different narrative, it affects the psyche. And because this person it's like a grief. It's a grief thing that a person is going through. And because if you're going through grief and you suppress it, there's a time it basically shows again. It shows up. So for me, what I would say to a person is never conclude. it would be better if you asked what is causing it and saying you're 20, mbona unakuwa depressed. It will be good if you asked what is the problem rather than just operate with the daily notion of life, of how people think that a 20-year-old should not have any stress, shouldn't be depressed. No, you need to come from a point of question. You need to approach it from a question, what is the problem? Because the question is, no one ever asks what or why. Most of them just come to you with their own conclusion. They bombard them on you and they just tell you that. That adds more towards your depression because, already a depressed person is already at a point in his life where most things don't seem to have light in them. Why do you also want to add more weight to that problem by saying you're 20? Why are you depressed? Perhaps I'm going through a very worse situation that you can never even explain. And you're coming and asking me a question that is affecting my psyche in the way I'm operating. So you try and imagine somebody's already depressed and you're saying, why are you depressed and you're 20? How does that even come out? This person is just injuring, you're adding salt to an injury. So I'll just advise is come from a point of conversing, point of getting to know what is happening, then from a point of judging and condescending or just giving an opinion. Don't come with your opinion. Come with a point of seeking to know or inquiring or empathy. Just don't operate as the world looks at things. Because when somebody is in depression, when somebody is in mania, these people, their minds, they're not in the comfortable state. They're not in the you side. Their moods are not okay. So to me is let us be people of inquiry and empathetic than people of opinions. That's what I'll say.
Okay. And I agree. Yeah. So let me just take you back a little bit, right?
All right. Okay.
So you said that your trigger was basically expectation versus reality, right? When you got into campus, you had so much expectations upon you, yeah, basically from family. So after this happened, obviously the expectations don't go away, right?
Yeah.
So how do you cope now with those expectations? Because they're still there. People don't stop. Maybe your mom will stop having expectations, but people just go back to what they're used to, how they perceive you. So how do you cope now?
How do I cope now? The best thing that my therapist informs me is it's not about them, it's about you. So yes, as long as they have their expectations, that is their expectations. And then there is you. There is the person that is you. So forget what surrounds you and focus on the you, the inside you. Because the more you live for others, the more you get lost, or the more the you vanishes. So my therapist nowadays tells me to focus more on me. What is what I want? What is it that you expect out of life? What is the reason why you are doing this? The expectations will be there, but the most important is you. What do you expect of life? What are the outcomes that you anticipate? Let the focus no longer be about others and let it be within you. Let it be all about what is it that you are working for? What is it that you are expecting at the end of the day? What is it that you are carrying out? What is the reward that you anticipate from you? What is the feeling that you should get at the end of the day? Yes, that is it.
Okay, I really like that. Now, I want us to now go deeper into that. And then, and so I will ask you, okay? So you're the first.
Yes.
And the therapist is telling you to focus more on you. And
yes,
basically this, from my point of view, you'll tell me it means that you need to be a little more selfish. You need to have more defined boundaries. You need to have to say no's to a lot of people who expect you to say more yeses than no's. So how does focusing on you show up? Like, how do you do that? What does it look like exactly? Just paint for us a good picture so that I know, because I'm not a firstborn, but it's also a struggle for me. Yeah. So what does that look like exactly, John?
What does it look like? One, it's about the purposes that you have for life. What is influencing them? The things that you are doing even at the moment, what are they all about? Because the question is, if you're not doing it to help you, what is it all about for? Because you cannot be waking up, because one thing he tells me is you cannot wake up from in the morning, go to an office, sit, work, and then leave in the evening and go home. Something is missing. What carries your day? What is it that makes you complete? What is it that you'll say when you wake up in the morning and go to work has completed you? What has made you a whole person? That's that even if you were told tomorrow don't come to this work, you have something else to do. How many things are you doing that are going to help you as a person improve? Are you reading books that are helping you grow your mind? Are you going out and working yourself out so that you can have a healthy body? Are you researching contents or are you basically doing things that will help you? Or are you just go work, get the pay, come again to work tomorrow? At least, is there value in your life? Is there something that is additional every single day? That once you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you've added value to yourself, not only to the person that you are working for, but also to yourself. Yes.
Okay.
That is, uh-huh. So forget about, because saying no's, saying yes, it will all matter at some point. But the most important thing is, even when you say the yes, what is the value behind the yes? Not only just the person you're saying yes to, but even to yourself. When you're saying no, what is the value to the person you're denying and also to yourself? Those are the questions that we may never want to ask ourselves, but it's something I've been asked to really ask about life. When I say yes to my brother, let's say, for instance, I want to help him with something, and I say yes. What is the value that I'm teaching him, and what's the value to me that I'm also adding to him or to myself? So that is the questions that you'd rather ask in life. So every decision that you make, you have to ask, what is the value it's adding to both me and to the person I'm helping?
Okay, I'm taking that in, honestly. I think I'll have to listen to that again and again. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I'd like us to move to treatment. I know you've mentioned
Yes.
therapy. So how else
Uh-huh.
do you manage the condition?
Yes. For my condition, it involves mood stabilizers and antipsychotics. So that's what it involves. So I operate with a mood stabilizer by the name of lithium. That's what I use. That's what my doctor has said is best working with me. The other antipsychotic I'm taking is Tegretol. That's or carbamazepine. That's what works for me. So those are the medications I'm on right now, as well as I have a monthly injection. Every month there's an injection I have to take. That's treatment for, yes.
So in order to manage bipolar type 1, you have to be on medication for the rest of your life. Is it for a period of time? Does it go
Uh,
away, or is it a lifetime thing now you have to live with?
well, for bipolar is a lifetime thing. I've learned from my mistake, because I did a mistake. After I had stabilized my first time, I left the medication in 2019. And what happened is that I relapsed last year. Last year I went mania again, and it was bad this time around, because unlike the first one, the second one was more severe, and that is because I left medication. And when the doctors actually were informed about my diagnosis, the first things that they asked is, why did he leave his medication? So bipolar is lifetime. I have to keep on taking the medication. Yes, it's a lifetime thing. I'm on it till I die. Yes.
Okay, so what was that transition like, and why did you stop taking your medication before the relapse? What was it transitioning from a life of no meds to a life full of meds and injections, monthly injections? And then why did you stop?
It's annoying. That's the feeling I would say, and and because of and also it's mentally disturbing. Let me just say that it's torture actually to think that I have to be on meds, I have to be on injections, I have to be on all these things to just keep me stable. Something that gets, and because of that, you find also is the reason why I left the medication at the first time. No, I just couldn't keep up. Like every month I have to see a psychiatrist, I have to see a psychologist, I have to see a therapist. It doesn't make sense. Like all these people, it doesn't make sense. So what I did is that after I gained stability I regained my stability. I was able to do things as usual, and I could stop taking the medication one day or two and remain normal. I was okay. So I just called my parents, and because out of also they didn't know, we left the medication. So my brother was there. So my brother said he's good. He's not showing any symptoms of anything. He's great. Let him go off the meds. And I went off. What they didn't know is that the doctors always know better. Yes, it's a very disappointing feeling, I can't lie to you. You have to be on meds every single day, knowing that these meds are vital. They're what keeps you sane. You may not get to the level of the insane person who is on the road running mad. Yours is so different that it can actually risk your own life.
Mm.
Because when you're in mania, you can decide to jump from a cliff and it's like you're just high. You wear your earphones and you feel like you're in utopia, you're walking in the moon. It's feelings of like this that just they leave you a little bit disappointed, knowing that you can't control your moods like a normal person. It's really disappointing. I won't put any other words to it. It's heartbreaking and disappointing.
Okay, I can only empathize with that. I can only imagine what it's like to want to jump off a cliff or to listen to music and feel like you're in utopia and just let go and let loose, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, to the point that it can be life-threatening.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, that's very interesting. Honestly, it's very interesting. So, how do you cope with mania as a professional? Because that was in school, and yes, you did relapse in 2018. So now that you're working, and this is a lifetime, what do I call it? It's like it's not part of you, right? So
Yes, indeed.
how do you integrate it with work? Do you tell your HR that you have a bipolar disorder? What happens?
First of all, you have to disclose,
Mm-hmm.
because the most important thing is he or she has to understand that when these things happen, because you can't hide mania, you can't hide depression, you can't hide that one day you want to do all the work in the office, all the work in the office, and that day you don't want to even wake up in the morning. You just give her a call that you're sick. To explain this, you just have to disclose the condition. And if they're an organization that understands, and an organization that is much aware of these things, because these are new conditions, these are new times, and I won't lie to you. Even statistics in Kenya are showing that mental illness is in a crazy level. It's good to disclose. It may not actually assure you of your job safety, but it's good to disclose. It's good to say this: I have this in this condition. I'm on this meds. Actually, even bring the letter from your psychiatrist. Tell her this is the letter, so that from there she'll be able to know how to handle you. And I believe most organizations they're very understanding about these things. So long as you disclose, what they will not like is like you experience a high of mania and they don't know what's going on. They're all lost. My recent snarl up was not very good. My recent relapse into mania, it was not that nice because I was at work. Took the effort of the hospital that I went to actually convince our office that this situation can be handled. Just give him time. That's what he needs. Do not hurry him back to the office. Do not actually terminate him. Understand him and work with him. So you see, it took these are professionals who knew there's a job I have, the importance of this job, so that I can get the right treatment. They all played their part. But it's important that, because for me, after I had left the medication and everything, I thought I was fine. So I thought it's not worth me telling that I've ever experienced this kind of mental condition. And so I didn't disclose it the first time. But when it hit, I was saying they were inconvenienced because they were one staff down. So actually, it took the intervention of, because of a good relationship that I also share with the management, that they now understood, and they just give me time, and I resumed back work in the beginning of this year. So it took an understanding management, because if they weren't understanding, I could have literally been sacked, and things couldn't have gone very well. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to those mini management, by the way. I'm so proud of them for making
Yes,
such,
indeed.
yeah, for just being very accommodative and understanding. Honestly, it would have been very tragic if they said, no, we don't want to understand, or if they just, for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean,
Yes.
it makes me feel like I want to know them and even work there. But I'm not sure if I'm interested in CCTV, so let me just stick to what I know.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about is how has this affected your relationships?
Literally, I want to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, basically, I'm very hesitant to go into relationships.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, it's a condition that has very many triggers, and I don't want to have myself vulnerable to such kind of risk, because usually the people who I end up disturbing are my family. I usually say, since this is the case, I'd better just hold back and be with those that can deal with me when I'm in that condition. So right now, actually, I stay with my family,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones who are my support system. Because bringing in another person or me trying to date or just any other kind of relationship, I fear that I don't have the power to handle that at the
Mm-hmm.
moment, because I'm still also trying to figure how to work out to live a life with bipolar is not an easy thing. As you can see from celebrities who are actually been in this kind of who have my illness, they're also finding it hard to manage relationships. And like the famous, one of them is Kanye West, and because you can see how the situation that he is in, it's not an easy thing. It's hard, but you just have to believe. If the universe has someone out there for you, or if there's a relationship out there for you, fine. But also when it comes to work, you find that you're hesitant to share information. You just want to leave your own utopia for a while and just walk away. Kazi, when you're at work, let's be at work. I was talking about relationships of other kind. I'm coming to a work relationship is like you keep things to yourself, because you don't want people getting too close to things they might not even understand, or things they might start passing judgment over. They don't know what's going on, or how it all happens. This mental health is something that in our country we are getting to the point of talking about it. But for a long time, it has been something that we have been keeping in the back room, and everyone has been sleeping on it and saying, "Ah, that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Ati mental illness, hakuna kitu kama hiyo." No, that doesn't exist. It's something that when I'm in my workplace, I tend to keep to myself and educate those who will let me give that information. Because you find if somebody comes to you and says, "John, how is mental illness? How do you figure it out?" But you just don't tell everyone your story unless they figure it from somebody else. Because if somebody comes to you, he inquires from you, you tell him all about your condition, all about these conditions that involve mental health, because they see you also posting things on mental health. They want to know what is it all about, and they come to you inquiring. Then later you find somebody else has that information. So at least I like when I share information to you and I hear that somebody else has heard about it. Slowly by slowly, we'll get to educate people about mental illness and how it works. Because my hope is that at the end of the day, people will come to understand that mental health is just like the normal kidney failure disease. It's just like a cancer in your body. It's not something that is non-existent. Your brain is just an organ like any other, and it can fail.
Mm-hmm.
And on my relationships, that's what I seek to arrive at: sharing information, disseminating information about mental health, and just sharing it out, because I find that very important to do. After I've experienced what I have, and I know it could have been prevented had the right steps been taken, and if just for once people will fail to act out of ignorance and just say, "Let us find out what this is all about," because the way it comes the first time, what I can assure you is mental illness relapses are hard, and the treatment also becomes severe. The first time it was just a simple dose. The next time it's going to be harder. It's important that you stick to close relationships that one will understand. They will build you up. Relationships that will be supportive. The biggest thing about mental illness is support. That is what we desire most: support. So that is it for relationships. For me, it makes me approach them from an angle of skepticism, because from where I've come from, when people hear such kind of thing, they run away from you.
Okay.
Wanasema ule ni mwenda azimu fulani,
Mm.
and that's not the case. We are normal people. We can work. We can do every normal activity. So it is discouraging that sometimes your opinion will be devalued just because somebody thinks your mental illness or the state of your mind affects everything.
Okay, that is very comprehensive. So there's something that you've mentioned that I feel compelled to go deep into. you've said it could have been prevented. So how? So if someone, how could someone prevent themselves from getting bipolar? Is that what you're saying? That it was
I'm not
possible?
saying somebody, I'm not saying somebody can prevent you from getting bipolar. What I'm saying is somebody can prevent you from getting to the phase of mania that
Mhm.
is critical, and almost the same way when you're in depression, somebody can prevent you from actually committing suicide if they actually act fast. In the same way when I'm in mania, if somebody just acts within the time, he will prevent me from becoming or moving to a psychosis. Psychosis is where you lose track of reality. So you can actually prevent the severe forms of all these illnesses. You can actually, like, if you act early enough with the mental illness, you can prevent somebody who was in depression from becoming severely depressed. You can prevent somebody who is in hypomania from becoming mania. There's something that you can always do. You cannot prevent the illness, yes, but you can do something to prevent the worsening. Because what happens is once you notice certain symptoms of depression, if you act upon it and you say to your friend, no, we need to take you to a doctor, to a psychiatrist, you need to tell him what you have told me, you get help. There are very many professions in the country currently, very many psychiatrists, so many psychologists that will help a person. So don't sit back and you're seeing that somebody is there talking to himself, not sleeping the entire night, and not just for a single day. This has been happening an entire year. You need to get this person sitting down and talking to someone, because sleep is vital. You cannot have somebody who wakes up in an entire month, he has been telling you, I'm just in the house and I'm in bed. You don't know. You need to go see him or her, talk, get her out of the place, move her to an entire world. Let her or him just see things from a different perspective. Because mental health it's crucial that people understand. The sooner you detect something, the sooner the cure can be given. I mean, not the cure, the treatment, because there's no cure for mental illness. It's only the treatment. The treatment can be given, and this person can resume normalcy. The light can be given back to her or him. That's what I'm trying to say. You cannot prevent illness. No, you can't. But you can do something to prevent severe conditions.
Okay, okay, we are enlightened. Very interesting. I don't want to say too much. I just want people to listen and let it sink. I want us to wind up, right?
All right.
And
Yeah.
so basically, is there anything you would like to address that I haven't asked you? Something that you would like to say that you feel is important?
All right. I'd like to inform actually most of your listeners that there are several facilities that I would actually like to give out, that in case you want to seek help, you find that somebody around you may be having some of these mental conditions. You can reach out to, rather than saying doing a self-test at home. You can actually head there and speak to a specialist and actually consult on all this. One is there is Oasis Health, Oasis Medical Center. It's in Kitusuru. You can actually go there. They have a team of psychiatrists, a team of psychologists and therapists who can help. There's Chiromo Hospital Group. They have also their team of psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists. You can reach out to them also. There's also Madare Hospital, which is all the one that you all know. You can also reach to them. They have a group of psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists who can help with the process of getting to know more information about mental health.
Okay.
Yes.
If you're seated there listening and you know full well that you're depressed, you're not okay, just walk to those facilities. Or, John, is it okay if people reach out to you, then if on email?
Yes, actually, they can reach out to me.
Mhm.
It's something that I can manage to connect them with all these facilities so that they can get the proper care. And one thing I'll tell you is, do not be afraid. You're not Wesimu and Azimo. I actually want to specify to Kenyans, to our listeners, to stop using that term. There's no crazy person. There's no Mandazimo anywhere. Uh, they're just people who have mental health challenges, just like you have your kidney failures, your kidney dialysis, the same way with your mind. That's the way we are. So please reach out to me. I'm available. I can help.
Okay. And could you talk to our guardians and our parents again? I think yeah, that's a very critical group. So when your
Yes.
child tells you you're depressed,
To tell the parent to being Be inquisitive, inquire, be empathetic, and above all else, don't be judgmental or opinionated about the matter. These things happen not because the child has called upon himself to have these conditions. It's because they are working through something which once they have figured out and once you help them walk through the journey, they will get to the end of the tunnel and they will see the light. So parents and guardians, my advice to you, don't be opinionated, don't be judgmental, be empathetic, and be inquisitive. Inquire about what is happening.
Thank you so much, John. I don't want to add anything else. So thank you all for listening. This episode has been so enlightening. Please leave your feedback on Instagram, on Facebook, or even on Anchor. Leave a recording if that's what you want. Share this with all your friends and loved ones. This is very critical information. And see you on the next episode. Bye.